All right, so this is my first video. We'll see how this goes. I wanted to talk about Polymarket because I keep seeing people lose money on this thing and it's kind of painful to watch. So I figured I'd just break down what actually works. I'm not gonna lie, this one's a bit longer than usual, but stick with me because there's actually some good stuff in here. If you're looking for some quick get rich fast hack, this ain't it. Close the video. But if you actually want to understand why most people lose and what the winners do differently, then yeah, let's get into it. Most Polymarket traders lose money. And that's not me trying to scare you or whatever, that's just math. That's reality. They see a market, throw money at it based on gut feeling, maybe they follow some whale wallet they found on Twitter, and then they just watch their bankroll slowly bleed out. And they tell themselves they were unlucky. Market was rigged. I just need one big win to turn it all around, right? But meanwhile, there's this small group of traders pulling 200 to 400% annual returns. Some of them 500% plus in crazy years. And no, it's not luck. It's not insider info, not some secret algorithm they're hiding from you. It's systematic edge. Doing the research that other people won't do. Frameworks, position sizing, actually understanding how these markets work. So I'm going to break down what separates these two groups. What the winners know that the losers don't. And if you stick around, I'll show you the fastest way to get there yourself. All right, let's be honest about what losing traders actually do. And if any of this sounds like you, we've all been there. No judgment. First, they bet on what feels right. No calculation, no fair value estimate, just vibes. Second, they see some Twitter thread blowing up about a market and they ape in 20 minutes later. By then, the edge is gone. They're not trading, they're exit liquidity. Third, they go full send on plays that seem obvious. Trump at 85%? That's basically free money, right? So they put half their bankroll on it. Half. And fourth, they copy whale wallets without having any clue why the whale even bought in the first place. Okay, so why does this destroy accounts? Let me just use the Trump example because I see this one all the time, constantly. You see Trump at 85% and you think, sweet, basically guaranteed. So you throw money at it. But here's what you're actually doing, and this is important. You're paying 85 cents to maybe win 15 cents. The risk reward is completely backwards. You need to win 6 trades in a row just to make up for one loss. 6 in a row. That's not trading, that's hoping you don't get unlucky. The market being at 85% doesn't mean it's a good bet. It just means that's what other people think. Even when they're right, you're probably paying too much for it. This is the stuff that nobody tells you when you're starting out. You think high probability equals good trade. It doesn't. Okay, so here's where it gets interesting though. Everything I just described, all those mistakes, and I know this sounds weird to say, but it's true, they're completely fixable. There are people out there making stupid amounts of money on Polymarket, and they're not smarter than you. I promise you they're not. They just know the stuff I'm about to show you. Which, actually, you know what? Let me just get into it. 3 concepts. That's it. 3 concepts that actually separate winners from losers in prediction markets. That's what we're covering next. Okay, first real lesson. Edge comes from original research, not from following smart wallets, not from copying trades you saw on Twitter, not from... you know what I mean. And I'll tell you exactly why that is. When you see a whale wallet move into a position, that information is already public, right? Hundreds, maybe thousands of other people see it too. By the time you buy in, you're probably buying at a worse price than they got. You're not riding their edge. You're just providing their exit liquidity. Real edge, and this is the part people don't want to hear, real edge comes from finding information that others haven't found. Doing the research that others won't do. So what does that actually look like in practice? For geopolitical markets, and this sounds insane, but it works, you're checking OSINT sources, military aircraft movements, satellite imagery of troop buildups, local news sources in languages most traders can't even read. For political markets, you're understanding the actual legislative calendar, which committee members have leverage, historical voting patterns of specific senators. You're not just reading headlines like everyone else does. Corporate markets? FDA approval dates before the crowd even knows to look. Court dockets for settlement signals. Customs data, which, by the way, nobody checks, that reveals product volumes before earnings drop. Look, this is uncomfortable work. We're talking 4 to 6 hours. 4 to 6 hours of research per market you actually want to bet on seriously. But this This right here is what separates 200% annual returns from losing money. Most people won't do this. They just won't. And that's exactly why it works for the people who actually will. All right, second concept, position sizing. This is where most traders completely screw it up. You can have the best research in the world. You can find genuine edge, and you can still lose everything if you size your positions wrong. So there's this mathematical formula. It's called the Kelly criterion for optimal bet sizing. I'll spare you the full derivation. Nobody wants to sit through that. But basically, it tells you what percentage of your bankroll to bet based on your edge and the odds. Here's the problem though. Full Kelly is theoretically optimal, but in practice, it's way too aggressive for actual trading. It assumes you know your exact edge, which you never do. And it leads to these massive swings that will, like, I'm not exaggerating, psychologically destroy you and eventually blow up your account. So that's why smart traders use fractional Kelly, usually 1/4, maybe 1/2 of what the formula suggests. Let me give you a quick example here. Let's say you have a 10% edge on a bet with 2-to-1 odds. Full Kelly says bet 11% of your bankroll, but 1/4 Kelly, you're betting just under 3%. That 3% bet won't make you rich overnight, but it also won't wipe you out when you're wrong. And you will be wrong, a lot, even with an edge. Look, the goal here isn't to maximize any single bet. It's to stay in the game long enough for your edge to actually compound. Third concept, market selection. Not every market is worth trading. And the difference between gambling and actually trading, it's whether you have a real thesis. So here's what a thesis is not. Trump seems high at 65%. That's a feeling, that's a vibe. That tells you literally nothing about whether there's actually edge there. Now here's what a thesis actually looks like, and pay attention to this. Trump is overpriced at 65% because swing state polling shows him underperforming with suburban voters, historical precedent suggests incumbents get a late bump that isn't priced in yet, and early voting data from Georgia indicates higher Democratic turnout than the market expects. That's specific, that's falsifiable, that gives you something to actually update on when new information comes in. If you can't articulate exactly why the market is wrong, you shouldn't be betting, period. And here's another thing most people completely miss. Avoid pure coin flip situations. Markets resolving tomorrow on binary news events, that's basically gambling. You want markets where you have time. Time for information to emerge. Time for your research to play out. Time for the market to realize what you've already figured out. Look, you're not trying to predict random outcomes here. You're trying to find systematic mispricing and then just wait for it to correct. Now here's the problem though, and I'm gonna be real with you. Everything I just told you, it works, but doing it alone, brutal. 4 to 6 hours of research per market. No one to stress test your thesis before you put money on it. No feedback loop when you're wrong. No one to call you out when you're falling back into bad habits. You're basically trying to build systematic edge in isolation. Surrounded by Twitter noise. Surrounded by people who have no idea what they're doing. Most people won't do it. They'll watch this video, nod along, maybe try the research approach for like a week, and then slowly drift back to betting on vibes. And that's exactly why most people lose. So, here's what we built. It's called Predict Lab, and it's basically everything I wish existed when I first started trading prediction markets. So here's what's inside. First, full A to Z course. We're talking structured modules from the absolute basics, like complete beginner stuff, all the way through advanced strategies. Order book mechanics, fair value calculation, Kelly criterion sizing, news trading, hedging, arbitrage, like it's genuinely comprehensive. Second, weekly live calls. We break down current markets, walk through our thinking in real time, answer your questions. Third, 24/7 private chat. This is where members share research, stress test ideas before betting, talk through positions. It's like having a whole team of analysts who actually know what they're doing. And fourth, this is huge. Direct access to traders who are in the top 0.01% on Polymarket. Not influencers, not people who got lucky once, people with real, verifiable, public track records. Which actually brings me to who's running this thing. Predict Lab is run by 2 traders, and let me tell you about them because their stories actually matter. First is IAB Vec. He started in January 2020 with $2,500, right in the middle of the Democratic primary chaos. Today, he's made over $3 million in total profit, over $1 million in the last year alone. He trades full-time now, specializes in elections, especially chaotic foreign elections where real edge actually exists. Second is Mr. Ozzy, and his story, this is the one I really want you to pay attention to. He started in July 2024 with $15,000. His very first bet, he lost 10 grand, wiped out 2/3 of his account in one trade. Most people would quit there, right? Instead, he got serious. He built systems. He studied what actually works. 6 months later, he'd turned that remaining 5,000 into 135,000. No additional deposits, just systematic trading. Today he makes $35,000 a month trading part-time. So why does his story matter? Because he was probably where you are right now. He made the mistakes, he paid the tuition, and then he figured it out. Both of them, number 1 and number 2 on our community leaderboard. They actually practice what they teach. But look, don't just take my word for it. Here's what actual members are doing right now. Sheep Token joined 1 week ago. Went through the course, spotted a play he would have completely missed before, plus $1,200 in his first week. His subscription paid for itself immediately. And here's our community leaderboard. These are real members, real profits. Oxymiron, over 150,000. BGV with 149,000. Moses, 136,000. And these? These aren't the educators. These are regular members who learned the frameworks and actually applied them. The leaderboard isn't there to brag. It's there so you can see what's actually possible when you stop gambling and start trading systematically. So here's the offer. PredictLab is $99 a month. Cancel anytime, no contracts, no commitments. So for that, you get the full course, all 25 plus modules, weekly live calls, 24/7 access to the community chat, and yeah, direct access to traders who've made millions doing this. And honestly, one good trade pays for the entire year. Remember Sheep Token? $1,200 in his first week. So that's a year of membership paid for in like 7 days. 7 days. The link is in the description below this video. Look, at this point, you've got two options here. Option 1, close this video and, keep doing what you've been doing. Keep figuring it out alone and betting on vibes. Option 2, learn from people who've already figured it out. Skip the years of trial and error, skip the blown accounts, and just, get the frameworks, the feedback, the community that actually makes this work. Links in the description. I'll see you inside.